Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and today we have on the panel Joe and Claire. We're going to be covering the draw against Ebbsfleet and progressing via penalties, and then look forward to an expected match at Halifax. But from the little raised eyebrow I got from Claire there, we may discuss whether a penalty shootout counts as a win or if it counts as a draw. We love hearing from you. Join the conversation, that engagement. I love it. You know that. Get the thumbs up and all the rest of it. Join it in, share, retweet, and talk to me. Going to jump in. So, Claire, apart from some hair washing and half a job of nail painting and some jukebox fixing with future-proofing the equipment, how have you been since about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Just same old work and lots of football-related bits and pieces, but not too bad. Yeah, thanks.
Good. And are you pleased with our future-proofing of the jukebox for generations to come?
I mean, we did some wonderful work with a magic marker, basically, didn't we? So
A pink magic marker as well.
but that's what everybody be travelling with, really, because that's all I'm equipped with at home. It's pink Sharpies.
We wrote on the plugs because every week, Joe, people get there and go, "Which one's the jukebox?" And it's like, that's it on there. Yep, we'll do
This
that.
is riveting listening, isn't it?
I know. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. We're hook. It's the hook. And Joe, last time you were on, you said it was very, very cold. And I told you it wasn't really. Was I right about that?
Yes, and I was more prepared this time, and yet still I couldn't walk for about 2 minutes afterwards after I got up from the commentary box. So yeah, it was cold yesterday. I cannot lie to you.
You need to get heated insoles in your shoes. They're a game changer.
Little
That's what I
heated
wear
gilet.
on a game day this time of the year.
Also, Joe, how have you been this week?
I have been very busy.
Very busy?
I have been very busy. I've got a very important thing tomorrow.
Anything you want to share with the group, Joe, or do you want me to say it?
You can say it, but I feel like when you want to give it the big reveal.
No. I'm quite happy for you to say it. It's your news, not mine.
No, go on, Mike. Give it a big Sutton podcast reveal.
Joe has been accepted into a fairly big university.
Well, not accepted. I've got an interview.
An interview.
That's
Okay.
different. That's a reveal and a half.
So Joe is going to be accepted to a big college, university, after his interview.
Hopefully. I've got an interview with Cambridge tomorrow, which I've spent a lot of today and the last week getting ready for. I'm quite tired, but luckily I don't have to go to school tomorrow morning. I can, because it's online, I get to have a nice relaxing morning and then have to face off against some very academic people.
Just show them this podcast.
Good luck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll show them all the work.
Just show them this and go, look how good I am.
I think I looked into their interest, and I think because obviously if you look my name up, this will come up, and other football stuff I've done will come up. Two of the interviewers who are interviewing me have a really big interest in football in their respective fields. So I think they've picked two people. One of them's got an interest in like religion in football, and the other one's like football behaviour and how it influences stuff like that. Now, I don't know if that could be an entire coincidence, but it just seems quite odd that you'd have two football fans who mention it on their like academia page ish to a very football mad and football like journalist oriented potential candidate. So I don't know, that could be a benefit.
Yeah, good be. And well, very best of luck.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
fingers crossed.
I preempted it saying well done, but
We'll see. I'm
You're in.
confident. I'm confident.
Right, we're going to jump into the Knowing Me, Knowing You segment.
Knowing me, knowing you. There is nothing we can do. Knowing me, knowing you.
This is quite a fun one for you two because not much typical days. But the question you guys have is, what does a typical day look like for you? A typical match day, sorry. Claire, we'll start with you. Give us your typical day.
It's busy, I'll put it that way. I normally get to the ground about 12, half 12-ish, for a home game. Go to the office, see what's going on, what the people need doing. And then I think I basically spend the next 2.5, nearly 3 hours just walking around, talking to people, and trying to problem solve if anything's going wrong, or just talk to people and explain things, or just have a bit of a natter, make sure everyone's okay. I definitely get in my, I do about 10,000 steps just going around the ground, which is insane. But yeah, she's just queen of the yap, really. That's what I do on match day. And then if anything needs doing in particular, for anyone behind the scenes, whether it's kind of ticket related or events related or helping Tim or anyone, then yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing.
And then you have to kind of oversee the strikers are key.
Yeah, that's my post-match activity. I do all the admin for Strikers Are Key. So whilst AB is very much the face of it, I do all of the behind-the-scenes bits and pieces on that and keep that ticking along nicely. So yeah, that's once you've got to Strikers Are Key, like that's the day nicely kind of done and wrapped up. So like I kind of enjoy that bit, whereas sometimes some of the rest of it is a bit chaotic and you're running around and trying to sort stuff out. So I don't feel like I watch as much as the game as I perhaps did prior to doing this role, but yeah, it just depends on the day.
Yeah, great thing to say when you on a podcast talk about football. So AB's the head of it, and you're and like in what's that film, the Greek Wedding, where you're the neck. the father controls the head and the mother controls the neck and tells it which way to go.
I like just think of him more as the face and me as admin. I feel like that's fun.
Joe, what does a typical game day look like for you?
I get to the ground around 1:45 2ish. Then depending, well, this now that I'm doing media, normally I go get the match pass, go to the media office, say hello to everyone, say hello to Tony, say hello to James, say hello to all those lot. And then depending on where I am, either I normally, if I'm on the gantry, I don't actually get food at the ground because I know that I don't know. I just, whenever I'm on the gantry, I always seem to go to Greg's. If I'm in the main stand, I'll get something at Rose's. So that'll be that. And then depending on where I am, what I'm doing, watch the game from either of those places. Then over to the post-match interview, say hello to you normally, Mike. Then I watch the post-match interview, and then go into the press, the media office, and just sit down for a bit and then wait. And then normally a few of us get the train and home by about 7. So that's quite good. But what we did realise yesterday is I think my 18th is on a home game day. So the media team said we will treat you to a drink. On Mr. Jack Daly is very kind of that. So
Adrian.
You need to be rinsing Jack Daly's wallet that day, I'm afraid. Not just one drink.
Yeah, Adrian.
He needs to be buying you multiple drinks.
Yeah. A drink per match so far, or per half. We'll do that.
Yeah.
But media badge, they give them to anyone these days. It's just ridiculous.
Wow.
Right. Club news. Last week, I brilliantly mixed up Maidstone and Maidenhead again while saying Matt Rush was on loan and said he's going to help us with the promotion running. No one called me out on it. I only realised about 20 minutes ago. Ladies' match was called off. They have got a very nice game lined up in a couple of months to Guernsey in early February. So I mean, it's like a nice little early Valentine's Day treat if anyone wants to.
I'm absolutely gutted that I'm away for my birthday then, or I would definitely be going to that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's on a Wednesday, so it's a bit of a midweek, but it could be a very fun, messing one. And yeah, see anyone there. But onto the match very quickly. Let's go, Joe. Your
You
lineup.
missed the biggest announcement of the day there. You talked about all the things that are coming up, but you didn't talk about the big reveal for what's happening in May. Are you coming to that later?
No, I forgot it. Oh, I didn't forget it. It's in my calendar already. But go on.
Oh,
Remind me. Go on.
Gundo's testimonial.
Gundo's testimonial of a legend.
There you go. 25th of May. Get that in your calendars.
20 what of May?
25th.
Was it 5th? I thought it was 6th. Anyway.
It's a Sunday.
Sunday. Excellent.
It's a bank holiday Sunday.
Bank holiday Sunday, so we can have football and drinks. It won't mess with the playoffs, even if we get to the final, because even if we get to the final, we ain't going to win it. Because we never win at Wembley.
Whoa.
never win
None
at
of this
Wembley.
negative
that's terrible
talk.
from you, Mike. That's
No, I don't.
No,
wanna
we
go
don't
up
do this.
year. I'd go to Wembley, but
Just get over yourself.
yeah,
If we get to Wembley, it's happening. Just
yeah. I
strap
think
in
it
and
will.
enjoy.
I think
Yeah.
it will. If we get to
90th
Wembley,
time,
it will happen.
90th time lucky. Right, okay.
Anyway, sorry to
Jenny's not allowed
interrupt.
to know, I know that. Right, Joe, line up and expectations. What was your thoughts of this game? I mean, bottom of the table. It's just really nice little rubber stamp. We just had to turn up, didn't we?
Yes and no. I mean, they had no expectations, to be honest, which is always slightly odd when you go into a game because everyone just thought, we beat them before. It wasn't convincing. We're a better team now. And they're bottom. No one likes their manager. No one likes their players. Very few were going to turn up from their away end. It was awful playing conditions and we were on our home pitch. And at that combination of things, it kind of is a part of it which always they turn up with let's go into it with an open mind. We'll see what we can do. But it's the trophy. I think if we get into the sharp end of the trophy this year, it's another competition we can have a go at because you might maybe think the bigger teams in the division, maybe the Gatesheads who won it last year, the Forest Greens, the Oldhams, the Yorks, who might be pushing for autos, might take that competition as a bit of a back seat, and depending on where we are, we might actually start to prioritise it, a bit like Gateshead did last year because they were on the back end of the playoffs and didn't really think they were going to get in. They sneaked in, but obviously they had the whole stadium thing. So I think it's a competition. I thought we might rotate a little bit more than we did. I wasn't sure if we'd have. We played quite a similar team. We like the Ransoms, the Coleys of this world who kind of played a bit on Tuesday night, but I thought we might have Coley starting. I thought we might have French starting. Muller's, Steve Morrison loves Hayden Muller, so I thought we might just have him starting. Thought about Jack Rodham starting, but the next 2 weeks are like dead hectic. Like Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. So 5 games in 2 weeks it is a lot, and there's no easy games in there at all, and you've kind of got to make calls maybe against a slightly weaker Ebbsfleet side. Couldn't even field a full subs bench. So lineup was good. I didn't really do a prediction. Shout out to Aaron who put Jack Rodham on the team sheet twice. Jack Daly would want me to say that, so that was a class.
I don't think Jack would want you to bring it up, actually.
Yeah. I'm allowed to say it. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was happy with the lineup.
Good stuff. Claire, what was your sort of thoughts, expectations ahead of the game and lineup?
I felt quite weird going into it actually, and I think it possibly I don't know. I just had a bad vibe yesterday morning when I got up, and it wasn't. I don't know. Just came from nowhere. So my expectations weren't massively high. Some kind of pessimism snuck into me, and we know that I'm the eternal pessimist. Most of the time I find myself being quite optimistic about stuff that's going on at the moment, but yesterday I felt a bit like one of those weird ones of where everybody expects it to go a certain way because of how other people are playing, and you kind of think to yourself, oh
Yeah.
like is that what's going to play out here, and you don't really know. And I think also like in those conditions, like I just think anything could have happened. That's not to say that like ability obviously doesn't massively come into it, but like that weather was just horrific, and the wind was awful more than anything, and I just thought like I wouldn't want to be out there. So you just kind of it's a strange one.
Yeah, it was one of those that you're like, oh, should win this easily, comfortable. Oh, hang on a minute, just let's stop all that, because I mean,
Yeah.
I've written this down for later, but when a club is struggling, a cup competition can be a nice distraction, because like suddenly it takes off the pressure.
Absolutely.
So
Because you kind of go, okay, cool, well, we're not going to do very well in the league, so we might as well focus on this
Yeah.
and actually get something out of our season. And I think there is always that kind of that attitude, isn't there? And if you are doing well in your league, then sometimes you kind of go, okay, well, actually, do we want to focus on this? Do we need these extra games? Do we need the distraction from the thing that we should be doing? So it's a strange one, kind of psychologically, as to where you go from it. But like, I know full well that our attitude is to go out there and win games, like regardless of whether they're league or cup or whatever. So like, that wasn't kind of what was playing in my mind. It was just more, I don't know,
bananas.
weird feeling. Yeah.
There was a little brief discussion with people around me talking about our lack of striker options and why we let Rush go, and did we need to bring someone else in? And then 25 minutes later, Will had to go off, which kind of brought it into a lot sharper focus. Josh then came on, did really, really well. Then took a very hefty challenge, which the referee gave us a lovely throw on for.
I mean, that was outrageous.
Yeah. He did say, I sort of messaged him, but that looked quite painful, and I got a response back, Jesus, was it? So yeah, not sure how that's going to go. But I mean, what do you think about our sort of strike options? Do you think that we're going to get someone back in? We're going to call people back from loan, or just see how Will is? I think it was his lip, someone said.
Yeah, I think he had some stitches in his lip.
Yeah.
I think we'd see how he is, to be honest, and then kind of go from there. Like, I'm no expert in that kind of field, whether or not we're going to decide that this is the best time to add to kind of our roster, as it were, because we adapted, I think, ultimately. So there are options, whilst they might not be the most obvious of ones. So it's just, what is it? What you do is, do you do what you can do with what you've got? I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to call it, to be honest.
No. Well, this is what kind of where I was going to go with it. Is like, well, if we get someone else in, what happens in a few weeks when we get Jaden back? When we get Will? I don't know how long Will. I don't think he got concussed or anything, so I think he should be able to come back. But Joe, what do you think? Do you think it's a for a short term, or make people sort of step up and just play different ways? I mean, Nana didn't do too bad, did he?
No, he didn't. I don't think we'll be out for long. I think he'll be back next week. By all accounts, obviously, Nada's didn't play yesterday and should be fit for Halifax on Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a dip into the loan market, only because Matt Rush isn't the striker like Davies or Nadesan is up top. He doesn't have the physicality which we need. He's a very good striker, and he scored the goal for his debut for Maidstone, and he's good coming off the bench, and maybe we might see a return for that. But I wouldn't be surprised maybe in January if we saw a more powerful, bigger striker coming on loan. Like, obviously, we've made a lot of reinforcements defensively, and we've got the loan of Waller coming to an end. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him go back to MK, considering we've got Kirk, French, Muller all back fit now, with Topolodge as well being added. It feels like we've got pretty stacked defence. Jaden's out for the rest of the season, but it feels like midfield's pretty good. Nana is starting to find his feet a bit more. He's not, and as much as Josh did well yesterday, he's just not that, there was a difference between when Will and Ashley play there and when Josh and kind of Nana dropped into those roles. Just the imprint you have on those centre backs, and Will wasn't remarkable in those first 25 minutes, but you really saw how vital he is for when we play that long ball forward, because Josh couldn't win those headers and neither could Nana or Jez. So I would be surprised if we saw a move, perhaps. Maybe using Millwall connections again for Steve, but I don't think it's something massively to worry about, because it's not like we play with two strikers. I think if we're playing with two strikers, it might be more of a concern, but playing with one, having two very strong wingers, and knowing that Nadas and Will can play there, that makes it slightly more okay. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a move for a striker made in the next month.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're a young striker and you're looking for that loan, would you want to come to Sutton where someone's played basically every minute of every game? Because you're like, how am I going to shift him? And if you're the club, so if you're Millwall, we're just making up things up. If you're Millwall, you're going to go, well, what's the point of sending this player there to come off the bench for 10, 15, 20 minutes? So there's a lot to go there because obviously we've got Nadders, I didn't mention, and he's doing all right, scoring a few goals, a couple of nice assists. Someone did mention on one of the comments for last week, I think, that Gillingham aren't obviously keen on him coming back. So I don't know what his situation is, whether he's got another year or he's out at the end of the season. So we need to make him feel very, very welcome. All love him.
I saw someone yesterday saying, "How did we let Harry Smith go?" Because he scored 3 for Swindon yesterday, and I was like, "Well, there's a thing there called relegation."
Yeah, but there's also, I mean, it's not even just that, is it? Like we talked about this last time I was on. Like, would you want Harry Smith in this squad? Because I wouldn't, and I just think bluntly, and I know there's a lot of factors in play, but his behaviour and his from a on the pitch perspective, and the cards and the way that he dealt with, the red card and ultimately then ended up with kind of that ridiculously long ban is something you could potentially really pin on us having been relegated in the first place. So I'm not saying it's solely his responsibility, but he played a massive part in that. And I personally wouldn't want him in the squad. So when people say it, I'm like, no, thanks. It's a massive Alan Partridge gift moment for me.
Well, that's what Alex did jump on me last week. I was saying, do you think he regrets it? I wouldn't have him back. I was like, wasn't actually the question. It was just asking if he regretted it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, was it 9 games in the end he was banned for? And against Barrow, we were winning at the point. Had we got those extra few points from those 9 games, could we possibly have stayed? I mean, there's lots of ifs, buts, and maybes.
There's lots of ifs, but that to me is a contributing factor.
Yeah.
But good news from yesterday. Simba got for another nice 45 minutes. Nana scored a goal at the perfect time. Great goal as well. Was a little bit concerned because people did celebrate a little bit early because I was like, that hasn't actually hit the net. If that suddenly swerves wide now, we're going to look and really stupid. And then it hit the net. And I was like, phew. 2 comments at half time. Steve said to the players, this could be as easy as you want it or as hard as you want it. And they chose the hard path, which he was laughing at. I'm not sure he would have been laughing had we lost on penalties, but he was laughing saying it. And Neil of this show mentioned we've not conceded a goal for over 400 minutes. 20 minutes later, we're 3 goals down. And I meant to use this joke on my little video thing. We were blown away. It was windy. Yeah, come on, man. Joe, I know you will love this. There were chants of we're so fucking shit, which I know you find really helpful. Claire, I'm not going to talk to you about it because you'll be fuming.
Get behind the team. End of.
There were grumbles about how we're playing. We're playing awful. Let's just remember, going into this game, 4 straight wins, 0 goals conceded.
This is the thing that really frustrates me is that in the second half, there was a couple of people stood near me who you would have thought that we hadn't won a game all year. They had nothing positive to say. Oh, we're so weak. We're so this. We're so that. And it's like, hang on, how many games have we won on the bounce now? How much can you see this squad developing? How much can you see what they're doing? What are you watching? And if you're not enjoying it at all, because by the sounds of it, you're not in any way, shape or form, and you didn't applaud when we scored or when we scored any of our penalties or at the end, why are you here? That's really blunt and quite horrible. But if you're not getting anything from it and all you're doing exactly. If you've literally got nothing nice to say, like, what is that? Like, I don't understand. Don't get me wrong, when bad things happen, I understand being frustrated by them, but I think we gave the ball away to them softly a few times and they took advantage of it and they punished us for it. And the rest of the time, we were battling in some pretty horrific conditions and we brought ourselves back to, you know, walk away with it. Never in doubt in my mind.
I had a very quick snap conversation with Jack. Well, actually, I said a couple of comments and he just laughed. Mr. Sims, I did kind of say, you do want to keep us on our toes. I mean, I don't think he was ever in doubt. He just like, let's liven this shit up a little bit, shall we? But Joe, I mean, 3-1 down. Even the most diehard must be sitting there thinking, yeah, we'll go home now, will we? That was like 64, 65 minutes, I think it was.
I was just a bit taken aback on commentary. I just kind of got quieter and quieter. I was like, and Ebbsfleet had turned it around. Harry Watling got on my nerves. I mean, yeah, they came back from 3-1 down, but you know, the celebrations of the touchdown, you would have thought he won the Europa League. It was a lot. It was the third round FA Trophy title in Storm Darragh. It's you know, I get it. He hasn't won anything in like 10 games, but yeah, we were all right. There was someone who made a comment when we were 3-1 down in the crowd just in front of me, where I was commentating. And then I had to pause because he said something. I can't remember what it was. Steve turned round and it was just, I think it was just after the Barbarik goal. Steve turned around and almost gave a little, just looked generally towards, but like the front of the main stand, as if that's what you get for saying that. It was a bit like, remember, I think it was someone in his first game in Chelsea, you promised us changes. And it was something along those lines. And it was a bit very much like, now listen to me now. We'll go on to get something from this. So that was interesting. But, you know, I thought 3-1 down. There was a part of me I thought we could do it. There was optimism in my thoughts. But I thought about 70 minutes, we needed the goal. Without that chance, we wouldn't have got anywhere, obviously. But, you know, it sounds silly to say, but we weren't good before the goal. The goal came out of nowhere. It was a bit of a really good strike and a lucky bouncing ball. After the goal, we were the best we played for all match. Before that, it wasn't like the pressure was building, like we were knocking on the door. We were nowhere. Like we weren't playing it. We looked like a team who were being beaten 3-1. And yeah, I thought it was a bit of karma for Ebbsfleet as well. I said it on commentary. I said, Callum Harriott, so he made his debut, signed at midday or something. I said to him, I said the amount of times, I can't remember who it was, like 3 Ebbsfleet players went down holding their faces to stop the play. Mm-hmm. And then their physio, I thought this was really cheeky. So Harriott comes off, he's fine. He gets up completely fine just to stop the play. Referee has to stop because he's clutching his face. So then he doesn't come on, he's completely fine as Sutton are attacking. As for Ebbsfleet are on the counter, like 4v3, he comes on the pitch and it's completely unmarked because he wasn't there on the pitch before. And then all of a sudden, I think it was Harry Ransom just started shouting at the referee saying you can't let him on at that point, or you can't allow them to let him on at that point, because when they're coming forward, if you've got 3v3, it then becomes a 4v3 with a man spare at the back post with a ball, and then you can't mark him. Whereas, I thought that was on. I said when Sid scored, I said I don't wish to sound. I said this is a partisan broadcast. So apologies to any Ebbsfleet fans who are listening, but I said that is karma for that goal, because there were people complaining about Jacko's having a foul throw and that not being a penalty and stuff like that. I was like, well, that's karma because you twisted it and your players to the piss of it, and that's fair. So when we came back to 3-3, I don't think it was particularly deserved. I think they were effective with their 3 chances, but you know, it wasn't like it'd been coming for them for ages. They just had a really good 15 minutes, and then since we scored, we had an even better 15 minutes. So, yeah. You know, I didn't love the way they played that game, and they could have been a lot better about it. And I think what ended up happening to them, the way they only just held on to get to 90 minutes, was reflective of the fact that as a team, they have to resort to the kind of dirty tricks to get the game going. And you know, if needs be, I don't think we'd be like that, but you know, that's how he wants to run his team.
I agree with you like that. For me, there should be more consequences to things like that. Like if you go down holding your head, you should have to go off for a prolonged period of time, or like longer than just you standing over there, because of the severity of what you're actually suggesting has happened to you. Like there was one point when one of them went down clutching their head as if they'd been kicked in the head, and I turned to Dave next to me and was like, yeah, but that foot wasn't at head height. He put his head down as close as physically possible to our man to make it look like that is what's happened. And then he's rolled around on the floor a bit. Like, it's pathetic, and it's really quite, like, I just think there should be more control over stuff like that, personally.
It could have caused more, because obviously if the referee's catching it out of the peripheral, sees the foot, the head, and the kick in the head, they could be like, right, that's a card.
Yeah,
that's a red card.
Absolutely. It's not right, but you're right. Like, that goal did change everything, and you saw it. There was almost that moment of like we ran back to the center, and you could see like those shoulders went up, and there was a step change in kind of the attitude of like, this is in our grasp now, and yeah, we can make it as hard as we want to make it, and we have, but let's keep going. And they were very, very lucky not to lose in full time, because there were a couple of moments at the end there where it was hearts and mouth stuff, wasn't it, quite frankly?
If anyone wants a really good piece of commentary, my voice crack when Finley Barbrick hits the bar is absolute quality. I know, because who was it? It was after Coley had the follow up from Civi or someone. The ball was getting, I was like, Civi, Coley, and then I think it all become way too much, and I think, because I just watched the ball slowly slide in, and I was like, Barbrick from this, Barbrick! And people started turning around. I was like, literally to regain my composure there, because about 4 things have happened in 30 seconds. I'm trying not to show the fact that I'm trying to support this team from winning, but Finley Barbrick has almost just scored another stunner to put us 4-3 out. I was like, it was chaos. That last 5 minutes was mad. I don't know how the ball didn't go in the net, but their keeper made some very good saves, and didn't have the best shootout, but fair play to him.
Yeah, I mean, I did describe that hitting the bar, and I said to he was in the bar as well. I said to him with his mum and dad, and I think his brother was there. There's great golfing, great fun. I'll let you lot discuss the miss with him on the way home, because technically, you hit the bar, it's a miss. It's not on target, is it?
Such an arse. You really
you
are.
are 20 yards out. It's almost perfect.
But his first goal, did it or did it not seem like he was quite angry? Because the way he lashed at that ball, it was like, someone's pissed him off. The keeper,
the referee, that he got a long track, so Chinicoli had to come over, and Barbrick was every foul. And there were multiple times where we just made good tackles and the ref would give a foul. Ref wasn't good in that second half. Like, I often don't like to criticize refs. Ref wasn't good. He was giving, even for both sides, giving fouls which weren't fouls. Should have let the play carry on. But Barbrick, after every one, like coming on at half time, he came on at half time trying to inject some pace into the side, was always in his ear. And when he got yellow carded, that foul wasn't a yellow card, but it was because of the accumulation of just every time being in the air and a cone. It reminded me of all the World Cups where Kane had to come over, even though Kane had done nothing wrong, and it was always someone like Bellingham just always been the referee's ear. But it was like, yeah, just stop talking now, mate, because it was always like straight over in the referee's face. I was like, Finn, you've got to be careful here, because we're 3-1 down. Last thing we need a red card and losing 5-1 to Ebbsfleet. So, he was a man who, when he came onto the pitch, when you're 1-0 up at half time, coming on a pretty good situation, and the next 20 minutes you'll see him capitulate, I think he's got a right to be angry, because the only thing that's changed is his entrance to the pitch. So I don't think I'm not saying Lewis Simper.
That was harsh a minute ago. Now you're saying it's his fault.
I'm not saying Lewis Simper didn't have the best game, but I just I think that was a bit of a pent up strike.
One other worry is Suji was limping around for quite a while. And it was like, is he going to go off? Who's going to come on for him? And then we get a penalty. And he shuffled forward. Smashed it. Great penalty. That
was a wonderful penalty. Really, really wonderful penalty.
Bottom right. Like, keeper is 6'4", 5'5", if I'm not wrong. And he got it like as close as you can to missing it.
Yeah. But Claire, a great comeback. I mean, has anything ever happened like that collapse to Ebbsfleet before? To lose to Sutton eventually. It might have been a league. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. You're asking me to remember things, and you know what my memory is like.
It was on your balcony for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was nice, wasn't it? That nice little sign.
26 points or something it was.
We borrowed that, but we had to take it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still
But
think the funniest thing was when we were walking through Sutton with that championship sign that was like huge, that we borrowed from the club in a drunken moment, and being me, Dan, and Nick being stopped by the police because they were like, "Where did you get that?" And we were like, "We found it, but we're taking it back in the morning." It's like, whoops.
But yeah, I mean, the resilience and everything shown. Yes, there was a little mini collapse, and yes, it's okay to laugh about it because we won. But how is this going to stand the team? Because there's going to get this feeling of we're not going to be beaten, and that's going to carry us forward a little bit, isn't it?
I think that's really, really important, and I think it's like it's a lesson, isn't it? Like, you know, what you're saying is that at halftime, Steve said you can make this as easy as you want to make it or as hard as you want to make it. And okay, so they chose the latter, which probably isn't the best way to do things, but they went on and they got the job done. Whether that is how we would have liked them to have got the job done is irrelevant. They did it. They saw, you know, the potential pitfall and they avoided it. And actually, I think that things like that do help to boost you going forward and to build confidence in the kind of stuff of like, we work together, we can, you know, overcome these obstacles. And I think ultimately, yeah, it will be, it's a narrow escape, isn't it, in some respects, but job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As many people have said, never in doubt.
It wasn't in doubt, never in doubt.
Joe, what do you think? How do you think that's going to stand the players in good stead going forward?
Yeah.
And the team, the squad in general.
Well, this run, we haven't really had a comeback win yet-ish this season that I can think of, like Southend, but, you know, it was only 1-0 down and it was a bit of a nightmare from Shamani. So other than that, it shows the mettle of a side which is definitely improving. It will give the momentum that's saying, you know, the last few games, Maidenhead, Filed, arguably Ebbsfleet. This is the games we've had previously, they're a harder opposition, definitely. And people will be saying, look, we've just had easier games, that's why we get the results. We had, on paper, easier opposition. We were 3-1 down. I reckon the team which started August, September, we fold with 4-1, or it's a 3-1 just ending like that, or we don't really have a comeback. That's a sign of a team getting closer and more tight-knit and really understanding, you know, where how do we build that momentum back up. So I reckon it will really help us, give us momentum going into the game. Halifax, who got knocked out of the FA Trophy themselves yesterday. So, you know, we're going in on a high, they're going in on a low, haven't won in 3, knocked out of the playoff position in the league. And then you go to Altrincham, who will obviously be looking for something back after we slapped them around the place when they came to us. And then got the National League Cup, which was a break. So, and then Tamworth again, which, you know, we didn't have a great performance last time. And it's crazy to think we're playing a team set for the second time in the season because it's flown by. But I reckon if we'd had a loss against Ebbsfleet, 2 away games up north, far away, less support, they're much harder. Whereas now you've got, you know, comeback win, not conceding 4 before that, unbeaten in 5, is it now? That is a very different team atmosphere, as if you'd just been, you know, lost to the team that haven't won in 10. So in my opinion, it could be very, very beneficial to the performance that we see over the rest of the month.
Okay, well, you mentioned something there at sort of the start of that conversation, and is a win on penalties a win? I'm putting it as a draw.
I'm putting it as a win.
Same as
A
I
win?
got a loss.
It's a win. Otherwise, we wouldn't be going further, would we, mate? Think about it.
No. The game is a draw, and we progressed on penalties.
Oh, life is a game. The whole thing is a win. There we go. Chalk it up as a win. Thank you very much.
Euro 2020 final. Who won?
Hang on, but winning the match and winning the tie could be considered different things.
Could be. No, but you're looking for it.
No,
we won the game on penalties. Italy won the game on penalties. We won the game against Wigan on penalties.
If we lost,
we won the game. We don't say, oh, it was a 1-1 draw. We didn't play well at all, but we won the penalty shoot. Penalty shootout is part of the game. Thus, by extension, we won.
He's right. You're an idiot. Shut up.
Move on.
I said it was a draw.
You're not the authority on everything, you know.
Oh, Claire, you might have a
We seem to have
reach
lost
there.
This
Claire.
is my last appearance on the podcast, guys.
Claire's been banned.
It's all right. I'll get his
Right.
media pass revoked.
Ooh.
It's my bad.
We can do a joint effort, Claire.
Yeah, exactly.
One other thing that come up, and it's probably quite a large conversation, but I'll take your quick thought on it. Tim's talking to different people on the forum, and there was some question raised about the Parkside terrace, because obviously it should be the home terrace. I'm delighted if it changes that's the away terrace and we get the cover back, but that's a whole different story. But obviously, with it being such horrendous weather yesterday, you're not going to go, yeah, you can't go there, stand on the curver. But people are saying, well, hang on, when's that going to be changing back? And he was saying things like, well, we need the money to do this, this, and this. And basically, his point was, we need bodies in and spending money. And how are we going to do that? That wasn't an attractive game yesterday. Under any circumstances, same division opponents, Ebbsfleet, yeah. Anyway, the weather was just horrendous. People have to pay because it's not a season ticket. But how can you get the more than 1,000 in to spend their money? Even in the bars beforehand, Claire, afterwards, it was kind of dead. What can we do? I mean, one person was saying on a completely different thing of how great it was the other week when players and the management came for that supporters club thing. And I'm like, you can't do that every week, but could you possibly have a rota of someone coming in to just have a chat after a win? But I mean, this is kind of your...
There are people in there though, like this is the thing. So like I appreciate like you can't do that every week, and I know that is what used to happen, and that used to be something that everybody really really loved, and I get it, and I understand being disappointed that isn't how things are anymore. But like that's going back to pre-COVID times when we weren't a professional football club. They weren't full-time footballers. These people are full-time footballers. They some of them might not even drink, right? They don't want to
most of them
be in the bar afterwards because that's not their environment. Or, also is the fact that like a lot of those people don't live locally. Gone are the days where, you've got half a squad that live 5 minutes down the road and they're all going to end up in a nightclub in Sutton on Saturday night anyway, because they don't train 5 days a week. They only come into the club on a Thursday night and whatever, and they drink after that as well. Like times are very, very different, but there are people around. I mean, like a lot of my mates were texting last night to say that Meanie was in the bar for a fair few hours afterwards, holding court and talking to people. Like there are people around who want to have a chat and do those things, and they're approachable. It's not going to happen on a weekly basis because people bluntly, like they have lives and they want to go off and do other things, and that's just not how things are anymore. But those kind of, which should make those special occasions like the supporters club evening last month, and that won't be a one-off. That will happen again this season, and other big occasions. I mean, if we find ourselves in some ridiculous trophy run or whatever, then those kind of moments are synonymous with Sutton United celebrations. You look at what happened after we didn't win at Wembley and the party that then ensued. Like those things are what make us special, and those things will always happen. It just might not be that you get to drink with those people week in, week out, unfortunately. And I understand it's disappointing, but yeah, times have just changed a little bit, unfortunately.
It is, and the player culture has also changed. Some of those players, they're all. Every time I've ever spoken to anyone, great guys, but I just get the feeling some of them are a little bit more reserved and shyer than players we've had on the pitch.
That's totally fine, and you have to remember how young our squad is as well.
Yes,
like
exactly.
they probably aren't comfortable in those situations, and they probably don't want to hang out with all of the fans, and that's totally fine. And I get that it's something that made us very unique, because you wouldn't get it at any other football club, kind of at our level. But it's it's one of those things. But if there are things that people want to see before the game or after the game that would entice them to come and drink more, or be there, hang out, whatever, like, then I'm open to all of those suggestions, because we're trying lots of different things. We had bands on Tuesday night and a guitarist yesterday. There'll be another band before the next National League Cup game as well. Like if you want to see stuff, just drop us an email,
Yeah.
and we'll see what I can do.
Especially if you've got any good ideas. Joe, what would you say is a good way of getting people? I mean, you mentioned obviously when you're up on the country, you probably haven't got time to queue up for the food and whatnot. But how would we get more people going? Right, we're coming in, we're getting a drink, we're buying something from the shop, not just rock up, watch the football, and go home again.
I think you've got one thing which is going to come in your favour, and this is from a younger fan's perspective. You've got a lot of fans who are 16, 17, who over the next 2 years will turn 18 and will come to that bar. You've got a lot of fans who maybe haven't got whole families who in previous years. You'll have a lot of young lads who are my mates, people my age, who will start to come to those events. And obviously that's an influx of fans since pre-COVID. And that's actually probably the more not forums, but on Twitter, on and actually on match days, they're the vocal lot. They're the lot who you hear, and the ones who are at away days and all that. They're the lot who in the next 2-3 seasons who will be, including myself in that, who will be the catering group, because we'll be the ones who will be representing on social media and representing the Sutton firm, stuff like that. So I would say we love, like, speaking on behalf of the younger fan base, love it when players come over, do the free cheers at the end. When Meany does it, like we live for those moments where the players come over before a game, players clap after a game, even if we lose an away games. I think stuff like the day at training is a good one, because people love that. After I'm trying to think what people like, just saying, especially to much younger fans, players with like autographs, signing shirts, just even that, just like if 3 or 4 come out after a game, or 3 or 4 just wait behind, if you just say they'll be available to do it, and it's sort of monitored. Or you buy this for £5, get 2-3 players to sign at the end. I don't know, stuff like that. You'll get a much wider thing. But I think maybe not right now, because actually we're not old enough. But next season after that, you'll have a lot of people who will be, I know, who are drinking already, but will want to come to the club bar because this club is massive part of their lives as it is mine. So you will see it come up. It just might take some time because you've got at least 500, 600 of people that age over the next few years who will join that, and that's all because of the rise we've had over the last few years. So it's coming. Just let us grow.
That's a very valid point. I mean, we might need to some of them to be coming back saying, well, this is what we want now. And yes, it may well change in 2-3 years' time, but if there's anything for the now, I'm sure Claire will be absolutely delighted.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm excited for what a future of the fan base looks like in that respect, because it is so nice to have that younger voice and to have that kind of growth. And you're right, they are just got to allow you to be legally old enough to go in the bar, and then I'm sure you will all be in there, which is great. But if there are things that you want to see or do now, then tell me, or come and have a chat with me or whatever, and we'll make that happen. I do want to do something that's like we obviously did that thing the other week with Meany and Salas, that obviously was of an evening, but it'd be really nice to do something that's more targeted to our younger fans, that takes place, whether that's during I don't know, the week when you guys are on college holidays or school holidays or whatever, so that actually you can come in and meet people and talk to them, and we can hear your voice as well, because as you say, you're the future, which is very exciting.
The one thing I would say is the first thing that comes to mind is watch-alongs with players and stuff, like England games, England friendlies. Realistically, I know maybe there's some of them more reserved, but I can guarantee they might want to be at home with their families, but an evening where you pay £5 or pay a £10 and you get a drink and maybe some chips or something, and you get numbers if Steve Morrison's going to be there, or John Meany, Sidge and Edwina are going to be down there. You can sit with them and watch an England game, or watch, I don't know, Super Sunday. You get, if I don't know, women aren't playing there this year, but if women had one game here, watch the women's game, and then afterwards, bunch of the playing squad we watching. I know Arsenal, Man City on the telly. So that might be the kind of thing where our age group would come along if there was the opportunity to meet these players and just have it doesn't have to be as meet and greet and actually like asking questions, just be really relaxed, because even some people, just to be around them, be in that kind of group atmosphere, and it might be more comfortable for more players who will attract to it, because obviously I think people who have been going to the bar have different expectations of what comes for it. If you've got people who have never been to the bar and actually much younger and maybe a bit like, all right, these are actually the players, I'm a bit nervous, and you might actually would rather just, sit, watch it with your mates and maybe say hello and that be it, and that be enough for your day, then I don't think that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, a nice little FIFA tournament going.
I'd come straight down for that. You should do that.
I mean, we do have an Xbox, it has to be said. Yeah.
Do that.
Get that going.
Get that.
That's what I can do.
Yeah, I'm available for an evening of dad jokes. Just going to chuck that out there.
No one wants that.
That would create loss, not profit, Mike.
Right, well, thanks, guys. Right, very quickly.
This is mine and Joe's last podcast, it seems.
You will not see us again. We're filming a Splinter podcast to rival Mike.
You may not see them at all.
Oh, we could do that. That would be so funny.
Tales of the Sutton podcast.
Not the Sutton podcast. Thank God.
This is not the Sutton United Talk Time on podcast.
What's the opposite? Yeah. Okay.
I was going to ask Tim Vine if he wouldn't mind doing a little outro for me to go, well, you've listened to the nonsense that Mike has brought up. Let him know what went wrong. Yeah, make sure you correct him.
Well, that YouTube typo I noticed the other week.
No, shush, no. Let's not bring that up because people just look for it. We're going to bring up the good, the bad, and the funny. Joe, what was good yesterday?
Commentating on my first penalty shootout. That's not many people get to do that. Some people might not even get to do that, even if they're like proper commentators, because you might be doing league games. You don't get that in the league, so to do that, club you love on a win, it's pretty cool with a comeback. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, despite the fact that I looked like an Eskimo on that gantry. I had a hat, 2 hoods up, was putting half my coat in front of it as like a windshield because the mic was blowing all over the shop. It was an interesting ride, but it was dead fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
2 things. That was Neil's first ever live penalty shootout because he didn't get to Wigan and some of the other games he was away for. So it was his first ever live penalty shootout. And also, I'm not sure the whys and wherefores. I didn't read the whole thing, but Eskimo can't be said now. They don't like the term. It was a derogatory term that people took back, and everyone just used it, and it was something else. So it's going to take a good few years to get that out of our normal conversation, but apparently it's not. Claire, what was good for you?
For me, I'm going to say the good was the penalty shootout. I loved watching. I mean, it's always nice when you hindsight know that you've won it, but I do love a penalty shootout. And that kind of the moments of kind of sheer joy, just proving that I'm not completely and utterly dead inside. So yeah, it's just being honest.
Love the drama, Mick. I love the drama.
Keeping it light, Claire. Keeping it light.
Yeah. Claire, what was bad? I'm dead inside.
I mean, the bad was the weather, right? It was so cold. I actually went home at 2:00 and put extra socks on and little heat pads in my shoes, which is the joy of only living 5 minutes away. But yeah, it was really cold, really cold. There you go. That's the bad.
Yeah, you did say to everyone that you ran home.
I didn't run home, though. Let's be honest about it. It's been a couple of years since I've ran anywhere. But yeah.
Okay, Joe, what was bad for you?
The
cold. I know it's the cold.
No, actually, it was somewhat character building. So I'm not actually going to go for the cold. I always seem to end up trying transport whenever it's the good, the bad, the funny. But I'm going to go for it. On the way back home, I stepped in a puddle on a platform. But it's kind of linked to the cold then. But then for the entirety of my train journey home, I had wet socks. Which is really, really awkward because every time I walked, I had a squelch behind me. So that was not fun for 25 minutes. But it was. No, I did enjoy the cold at the end. It was actually quite nice. Felt like I deserved
a little medal.
I felt like I'd earned the the spot of being the only commentator for Sutton that day. No National League TV. I felt like by braving the cold, I felt like I deserved that.
You get a drink, hot chocolate. What was? Hang on, where am I done? Oh, hang on. What was
You've done
funny,
both
Joe?
of them.
Oh yes, Mike. Well in control.
Go on. What was funny, Joe?
What was funny? I found the inability of the Ebbsfleet players to handle the fact they've been tackled quite funny. Just because their strikers in the second half just started to really get on my nerves and had to bite my lip multiple times. There was one point where I think I created the joke, because I think Finley Barber got fouled and it was a perfectly good tackle, but he started rolling around. I said, well, Finley Barber got drunk some of the water that's down at Ebbsfleet and is now rolling on the ground for some nondescript reason. But we're dealing with this, and he scored about 2 minutes later. I don't know why it just sounds like I'm slating Finley Barber in this episode. I really like Finley Barber. He's wonderful if you're listening, which I hope you are. Then you're a great player, but yesterday it's a bit of a tumultuous 45 minutes.
Claire, what was funny for you?
I guess your overwhelming concern for my inability to stand on a chair. Like, you were very concerned that I shouldn't be standing on a chair, and it was quite amusing. And then anyone that walked past while I was stood on said chair trying to do stuff like above my head looked really worried as well. So I just thought that was quite, I mean, it was chivalrous on one hand, I'm sure, but it was just quite funny.
No, those chairs are not designed to be stood on, and listen, the backs are tilted. So what you'll automatically do is your leg kind of goes, oh, I'll just lean against the chair for stability. And if you do that, that whole chair is going to tip over. It wasn't because you were on the chair. Okay, it was. Don't feel too good. It was anyone. I would have been.
Oh, so you did. It wasn't that you necessarily cared about me. Okay, so I misinterpreted that entirely. I thought that you gave a damn. Fine, cool.
Well, no, I just didn't want the club being sued.
No. I mean, if you're the kind of person that's a fan that sues the club, then you're a bit of a dick, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you could have been glassed you were working. Anyway, I'm taking abuse all day here. I didn't do the Free Q preview specifically for this one, but Sammy was so good. I'm going to chuck it back in for the one we did a couple of weeks ago anyway, because it's the same match. It's going to get called off again, so might as well just use the same thing.
It's got to happen.
And now we come to the Free Q preview, and I'm delighted to be joined by Sammy, who has been very patient with me because this is the second time we've done this. We're doing this ahead of the weekend's round of matches, so if we've both had brilliant victories and we don't refer to it, don't worry about that. It's just the way it's gone. Sammy, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your supporting history of Halifax?
Absolutely, yes. So I'm from Halifax, born and raised, and I've pretty much been following Halifax since I was a baby. My dad took me to my first game when I was less than a year old, so it's pretty much been a big part of my life since I was born. My dad is also the club historian. He's written a few books about the history of the club, so it's pretty much in the DNA. There was no getting out of it really for me, but I think I took more of a keen active interest in the sort of last 10 years or so, which, you know, for my sins, it's not the prettiest football to watch, but it's nice to be involved, I guess, in a proper sense of community, that kind of feel that you get with non-league clubs. So yeah, it has its ups and downs, but yeah, on the whole, I think I enjoy going to watch them.
Lovely. And you do a podcast as well, as you were telling me, a solo career as a podcaster.
Yes. So last year, myself and one of my old school friends, Matthew, we decided to set up a podcast because every time we meet up with each other, we always go on, 2-hour, 3-hour spiel about Halifax Town. And we thought, you know what, why don't we start a podcast? So we started that last season, did it for the whole of the season. We started it this season, but Matthew is a very busy bee, so couldn't really put the time into it. So it's just me now, pretty much. I've not done much recording of the podcast recently. It's not as fun, kind of just talking, doing a bit of a monologue. But we do have a Substack as well, which is like a newsletter blog kind of thing where I write match reports, match previews, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's it's interesting to actually, do a bit of the research behind the teams that we're playing rather than just turning up to a game not really knowing anything about them. So yeah, it adds a little bit of more fun to it to compensate for the quality of the football.
And I'm a big supporter of the Her Game 2 movement. Do you get the lovely comments that you're only in it for to meet people, or you're just a girl just supporting football? Because obviously going to watch this level of football is clearly a choice that anyone's going to make just for the likes. Do you get that as well?
Well, to be honest, we operate in very small circles. I think the Substack's got about 27 subscribers. I think I do it more for the enjoyment of it rather than to actually get a big following. So I do have a tote bag which has our logo on it, which I
Oh,
parade around when I go to football games. But yeah, it's a very small, humble project, I would say.
we'll get more. Don't worry. Um, so
Fingers crossed.
coming into the season, what were your hopes and expectations for the season? How did that align with the fan base generally, with forums and Twitter and whatnot? And how's it gone so far?
So I think last season we made the playoffs just about. I mean, we took it right to the last game in order to secure that spot. And I think at the start of the season, I didn't expect to get there. I don't think many people did. I think every season we just want to stay up. Like, we just don't want to be in a relegation battle. We never expect really to finish top of the league or even in the playoffs, really. Like, we're very sort of middle of the road, I'd say. But the fact that we actually managed to secure a playoff spot last season, we had a lot of issues with our pitch towards the back end of the season. We had to go and play a lot of home games on neutral ground because our pitch was just destroyed, and that meant that we were playing a load of fixtures in the space of like a fortnight. I think we were playing once every 2-3 days for a fortnight, which was like quite intense, really. So the fact that we got that playoff spot secured was a miracle, really. Was short lived though, because Solihull Moors did a number on us, unfortunately. But yeah, I think that sparked a lot of optimism for this season, and I think people very much are just wanting more of the same. Just see if we can get a playoff spot. I don't think anyone necessarily expects it, but we know that we're capable of it, especially with a lot of the challenges that we face. So yeah, I think how things are going so far, I mean, we're in a pretty decent spot. I think we're eighth at the minute, which I don't understand how, because we've not had a great run of results recently. I mean, we did win our last game, but we had a couple of back-to-back defeats against local rivals, which is always disappointing. But yeah, I think there's potential. There's just something missing, and I think once we find whatever it is that's missing, we should hopefully at least finish in the top half of the table, and if we're lucky, get a playoff spot again. But who knows? You can't tell what's going to happen in this league.
No, it's not called the Bastard League for no reason. So what do you see at this point of the season, your main sort of strengths and weaknesses, and who is it that kind of we should look out for, that you lot are going, yeah, get the ball to them, get the ball to them?
To be honest, we don't really have that standout player. About 10 years ago we had Lee Gregory, and that was our main man. But we don't really have. I mean, we just got Billy Waters back on loan, who played for us a few seasons ago before going off to Wrexham and then being loaned out again. So he's with us till January, and he's sort of, I guess, on paper our main man, but he's got a couple of goals, like that's his job, that's what we expect him to do, but he's not quite, I think, performed to what we expect from him. But in terms of other strengths, I guess defensively, traditionally, we were last season one of the best defenses in the league. This season we've been a little bit off it with set pieces. we conceded 2 against York in injury time a couple of weeks ago, which were both from set pieces, and it was just very sort of clumsy, disappointing. Don't think I'm over it, to be honest. But we never concede a lot of goals. Like, we always make up for it at the other end. We never have a massive like goal deficit. So I guess we're pretty good at keeping tight, keeping things pretty evenly matched. We never really get hammered, although we did get hammered last night against Middlesbrough under 21s in the National League Cup. But I think that's probably because it's the National League Cup and we don't really care about it. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say at this point what our strengths are, because what I would expect the strengths to be from last season, we're just kind of a bit shy of it. But we've not really had any disasters. Like, we're not a team that you're going to put 7 goals past. Like, you might score a couple, but we'll probably get one at the other end. So it's not an easy 3 points, I don't think, for teams who play against us.
Certainly not if you're up in 8. If you listen to some of our fans, we've had a disastrous season. I think we're 13th. And it's like, we're bang in the middle of the table where we should be. But so, how do you see the Sutton match going? I mean, I don't know, have you researched us yet for your Substack? But how do you see the game going? What do you think could be the key battles?
To be honest, I haven't really delved into Sutton, unfortunately, because it's not on my radar yet. We've got Yeovil before then. But I go into every game with the same mindset. Like, I never think this is a guaranteed 3 points, because we beat Barnet the first game of the season, who are one of the favourites. And then we're losing to, like, I don't know, Braintree, who are pretty low down. So it's like, what can you predict? It's just impossible. You just don't know what's going to happen. But I feel like it will just be very much of the same as what we've seen so far. I think it will be an even contest, I'd say. We're at home, which I guess we have that advantage. So yeah, I think I can't see us being outright favourites, but I also can imagine that you guys will probably give us a game. But I don't know. That's all I can say at this point.
Perfect. Well, you said it's impossible to make a prediction. See if you can guess what my next question is going to be.
Well, it'll probably be wrong. I do. So when I do my match previews on the Substack, I do a prediction, and I think I've been right once all season so far. So I don't know. I think it will really depend on how we do on Saturday against Yeovil, because momentum, things like that contribute to your form and things. But we're off the back of a league win. We'll pretend that National League Cup game didn't happen. I'll go for 1-0 Halifax. I feel like we're on to something. I feel like we're going to beat Yeovil. We're going to beat you. We're going to beat everyone. And yeah, I'm manifesting.
That's fine. I just, on the predictions being wrong, I do a prediction league, and I was picking 2-1 for about 50 times, and I was wrong, I think, 60 times in a row. So don't worry too much. No one's going to put much store on what predictions we put here. Thank you so much for squeezing me in, and thank you for all your insights as well. And anyone who's going to Halifax, find Sammy's dad as well. He can talk you through all about the history of Halifax. So we'll get
he will happily do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye. Fair play to anyone making that journey, by the way, because the roads are going to be a nightmare. There's no coach, so anyone doing that, absolutely fair play. Yeah, just brilliant. And I've got 2 people apparently. So I mean, what do you guys think of the game assuming it goes ahead. Claire, how do you see it going? A couple of weeks ago, it was a bit of a like, oh, I'm not sure about that one. And now, as Joe said earlier, full of confidence. They may not be full of confidence.
No, and I think Joe encapsulated it pretty well earlier, actually, like kind of saying kind of where we are and how things have shifted, and we're going into it kind of on the front foot, whereas they're slightly on the back foot. I do think that it will be an interesting, like if you look at the table, it's a bit of an interesting couple of games, not just Tuesday but also Saturday, like position wise and points wise. They're going to be tougher ones to crack, as it were, but I think that confidence and that kind of the ability to bounce back, having been, 3-1 down, will definitely stand us in good stead to go into it and do something positive, I think.
Excellent. What's your prediction?
Oh, I'm going to go for a 4-1 win.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's right.
The
She's yeah. I'm backing it big time.
Good stuff. Okay. Joe, before you fall asleep, 'cause I can see you just struggling there, mate. You really are.
I'm so tired, man. But I was in the cold all day yesterday. I'm like a sickly Victorian child. Right. Right. The game. If it goes ahead, it's going to be a hell of a struggle just because that pitch is awful. I've seen a picture of it and it just looks awful. So if it goes ahead, I think it's going to be hard to play our nice passing, which we like to see. I'd like a 1-0 win, and I think it will come from a corner in like the 83rd minute, and it will be like most scrappy National League goal, and it just rolls over the net, caught on a fleck of mud off Hayden Muller. I'm calling that, and if I get it right, you have to promote me to co-host of the Sutton podcast, Mike.
Well, you may not be around for a couple of years, mate. So,
what's the life expectancy of sickly Victorian children? Let me just.
I did mean a more positive thing for you for tomorrow.
Oh, okay. That's better.
That's what I mean. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 to us, obviously. And I don't know who we've got left who hasn't scored yet. It seems like we're going through the whole squad. Harry has Harry scored? Ransom?
Yeah.
Oh,
Tottenham.
Oh, doesn't count, does it?
It's a
It's a goal,
competition.
yeah.
Games count.
All
Come
games count,
on.
okay. All right. I've just said his name. Now I'm going to go with Harry/Matthew Ransom to score in a 2-0 win. Right.
Who hasn't scored? Actually, that's not a
I don't
question.
know. Well, I haven't got time to do that right now. And you'll be asleep in about 6
And
minutes.
I'm hungry because I haven't had dinner
Yeah.
yet. So come on.
Well, luckily enough, we've wrapped up this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, we appreciate your attention and feedback. Get involved in Know Me, Know You segment. What does your typical match day look like? I bet it's not as busy as these guys. Follow, like, share this episode on Sutton Podcast on all your social medias. Subscribe, give us the thumbs up and all the rest of it. And we are back hopefully on Wednesday after Halifax victory with the thoughts of Andy Kay and Rory. So I've got two people, see? And as always, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Big thank you to the panel today, Joe and Claire. And thank you to the listeners. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Take care, goodbye, and we'll catch up soon. Bye-bye.
United! 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 United!